All right, looks like we are recording. So, welcome everybody to today's Salt Lake City HubSpot user group event. We're so excited to be back up and running and kick off a great year of online events here in 2021. Today, we're thrilled to have Kyle Jepson, an inbound professor at HubSpot, join us again. I think this is like the third or fourth time he has joined and graced our stage, whether in person or digitally here with us in Salt Lake City. And today he's going to be discussing the brand new hub on the block, the HubSpot Block Operations Hub. My name is Darren Burnson, but everybody calls me Doc, and I'm the owner of Burnco Media, a certified HubSpot partner agency that focuses on revenue operations strategies using the HubSpot CRM platform. I'm also the president of the Utah Digital Marketing Collective here locally in Salt Lake. Let me also introduce Brandon Carter. Brandon and I have been co-leaders of the HubSpot user group since its inception back in 2015. Brandon is at another HubSpot certified partner agency called Digital Reach, where he serves as the marketing automation director. If anybody here needs any help with your HubSpot, feel free to reach out to either myself or Brandon. We would absolutely love to see how we can help you out and get your HubSpot up and running. Also, since we are here live online, please keep in mind we are recording, so please act appropriately if you happen to join us on video. General chat and DMs with other attendees is on, so remember to always be kind and helpful during the chat and during your direct messages. And questions during this presentation, go ahead and use the Q&A panel that you see up there in the chat side and answer your questions. And those are the ones that we're going to address first during the Q&A, but you're more than happy to keep chatting during the presentation. Real quick, our agenda. This part is the welcome and housekeeping with myself and Brandon. Then we're going to have Operations Hub with Kyle. Then, like I said, we'll be doing Q&A wrap-up. So go ahead and submit those questions as we roll along. Just real quick, goals for our HubSpot user group. Frequency of events. We're going to try now moving forward to have at least one event per quarter through 2021. But we also might have additional events, workshops, and intensives. These events are for you. We are not here to sell anyone. This is a learning environment for everybody, so just know that we are just here to help. Hey, Brandon, would you mind discussing how our intensives work once we start kicking those off again?
Yeah, I would definitely plan, mark your calendars for some invisible date that's yet to be set in June, where we are going to have an intensive. What that is a small group of HubSpot users where basically virtually now we'll show up with your own HubSpot issues, your own problems that you're trying to solve. We try to limit it to 6 to 8 people so that everyone can talk through whatever challenges that they're facing, but also be able to help someone else with their challenge. So low, like it's a no judgment, low intensity kind of group. We've had people show up with, super complex workflows that they couldn't figure out, how to make it do what it needed to do, all the way to people who showed up and they're like, I don't know what to do with this thing. Like I have HubSpot and what do I do next? So we can talk through a number of issues. So keep an eye out for it. Those of you that are here will get first dibs on it. We'll get the first opportunity to attend. They're super helpful. Personally, I think they're probably more helpful than these meetings tend to be because you can literally, show someone something that you're trying to do in HubSpot and get, 5 or 6 other experts to chime in and help you solve it. So keep an eye out for those.
Awesome. Yeah, so we should be announcing that here in the next little while. So keep an eye out for your emails if you attended today's event. Brandon, how about kicking us off about what our next event's going to be?
Yeah, so this is a fun one. Doc and I, when we started this user group back in, 5 years ago, the majority of the people attending were, maybe like marketing generalists or salespeople who had other roles. And HubSpot was just part of like one of the tools that they used. Back then, the tool was obviously powerful and did a lot of things. Today, it's even more powerful. And today, there are a lot of people who are operating out of HubSpot full time. I would argue that most organizations that have HubSpot need someone that is in it full time, adminning, running the CRM, distributing the emails, managing the data, doing the reporting. So HubSpot is a career unto itself. It's been like that for a couple of years, but it's really becoming a thing now. Obviously, I've taken the dive. My last 2 or 3 roles have been extremely HubSpot centric, to the point now where I'm basically running a HubSpot marketing automation team for an agency. So our next event, we're going to dive into that, both from the perspective of our HubSpot users. How do you find one of these jobs? What kind of expectations should you have for a HubSpot specific role? And, like, what should you be asking for with salary? The flip side of it, we want to talk about, if you are running a business, if you are a vice president, you probably should be hiring a HubSpot person. How much should you pay them? How do you find them? So in order to answer a lot of these questions and work through these things, we're bringing in Jason Azakar, who is the founder of HubSearch. It is a recruiting agency that focuses specifically on HubSpot clients. So their whole job is going out and finding people who know HubSpot and enjoy it and want to work in it, and placing them with companies who need help. So if you have any interest in turning HubSpot into a career, or if you're wondering if your current HubSpot career is paying as much as it should, and then also, like, what should be expected of you with a HubSpot career, you're going to want to come to this event on the 28th. We're going to go through all of this stuff, cover it from all angles, and see what we can do to get a bunch of you a lot more money.
Ooh, isn't that awesome? I like that
Ooh.
idea. Ooh, the crowd oohs and ahs. All right. Thanks, Brandon. Well, everybody, please go ahead and RSVP. If you just go to our main Hug page, you'll be able to see that. That is also below the direct URL to the main Hug, and RSVPs are open for that at the same time on Friday, the 28th. So we look forward to seeing you then. Also, just want to let everybody know that Inbound is coming up again this October, and again this year due to COVID and whatnot. It will be virtual, but tickets are on sale now for the digital event. Prices are currently free dollars through May 13th, and then the prices do go up. So be sure to get your ticket sooner rather than later to save a couple bucks. Also, just really quick, as like I'd mentioned earlier, I'm president of the Utah Digital Marketing Collective, and I'd really just like to invite anybody here to an event to be of interest to you guys. On Wednesday, May 12th, we have an absolute rock star in the digital marketing field, specifically in the paid side. Her name is Susan Winograd. She's going to be joining us, and she's going to be covering the topic of the free and sometimes messy world of digital agency and client relationships. So if you are an agency, or if you're interested in working with one at some point in time, come learn how to better meet each other's needs. And when I tell you that this is going to be an awesome topic and event, you can learn more about it at that URL below, utahdmc.org. And I really hope to see you there as well. As always, we're always looking for great guests to present at our Hug event. So if you happen to have a cool case study or topic that you'd like to present on, something you've rocked and done really well, please let us know. Talk to myself or Brandon so we can get you on the books and fill up the slots for 2021. Second to last, if you happen to be on social media today and you'd like to share your experiences or a cool nugget of info that you might have learned, please be sure to post it using the SLC Hug hashtag so we can follow along and interact with you. And last, did you know that the Salt Lake City HubSpot user group had a Slack channel? You probably don't know because it's been a while since we really made a big thing of it, but we do have quite a few people in there. And if you'd like to join us in order to help learn and help other HubSpot users out in between events, direct message myself or Brandon either on Twitter or DM us here on Bevy, and we can work on getting you added to the HubSpot user group Slack community. So, all right, who's ready to get this event kicked off and meet our guest presenter, Kyle Jepson? I know I am, so let me stop sharing my screen and we will kick it back to Kyle. Welcome, Kyle.
Thanks. All right. Let's do this. I am going to figure out now, and then be off to the races here. So, yeah, I'm Kyle. I'm from HubSpot. I'm going to be talking about Operations Hub here. Just a quick introduction to me. If you don't know what I look like already, you will by the time this is over. So here's just a picture of my wife and kids. They're much cuter than I am anyway. I am an inbound sales professor at HubSpot Academy. I am the author of 5 HubSpot Academy certifications and a whole bunch of different lessons. Big fan of raw veggies, tortilla chips, and Billy Joel, which is just a way of saying I'm a very boring person. But I'm a married father of 3, and I'm actually, this group will probably understand more than most what this means, but I'm the bishop of a Latter-day Saint congregation here in Boston. So that tells you the state of the church here in Massachusetts. We are going to talk about what Operations Hub is. It's the newest hub in the HubSpot ecosystem, and it's different from other hubs in a lot of ways. I know for me, it took a while as it was being developed to understand exactly what it was and why it mattered. Super excited to make that clear for you. And then the bulk of our time together, I'm just going to live demo stuff. I'm super excited for these live demos. I've set them up in multiple tabs, and we will see how they go. And then we'll just go straight to an AMA. You are free to ask me anything you want. I can't guarantee I will have answers for you, but if you stump me, let's connect offline. I can connect you to the people at HubSpot who can answer your question, or I can research and find the answer out myself. I am your connection to HubSpot here today. I want to make sure you come away with the answers you're looking for. And then it wouldn't be a presentation from a HubSpot Academy professor if I didn't end with some resources for you to continue learning after we're done here. So without further ado, we'll just hop right into Operations Hub. So there are 3 main features in Operations Hub you should know about. The first one is data sync. If any of you are familiar with PiSync, that is it's a 2-way synchronization engine HubSpot bought recently. We have now fully integrated that into HubSpot, so you can get this 2-way real-time sync between HubSpot and other apps. It only works for the specific apps we've built integrations for, but we are hoping for this to kind of become sort of our default way of integrating in the future. So you're going to see the list expanding over time. But unlike a lot of traditional integrations where, if something happens here, we fire just a collection of data one time, this is a 2-way real-time sync. Roughly every 5 minutes, data sync is scanning your HubSpot records and your synchronized records and other apps and keeping them in sync with each other, which is pretty cool. Right now, we have about 30 integrations this works with. I say about because the list is growing pretty rapidly, but we expect more to come in the future, like I said. And it's included in the free version. So if you have HubSpot, you now have data sync, and you can set it up with our standard field mappings. If you upgrade to the starter version of Operations Hub, then you can do custom field mappings, and I'll show you in the demo what that means and what it looks like. So data sync is kind of feature number 1 inside of Operations Hub, and that's in that free and starter tier. When you move up to the professional tier, you get some workflow upgrades that are pretty sweet. So one is data quality automation, which are just these workflow actions that take data and standardize it or clean it in some way. You can do capitalization, you can do formatting, you can do some calculations on numbers. Basically, if you think of the sorts of things you might export your HubSpot data into a spreadsheet so you can do with formulas in Excel, you shouldn't do that anymore. You should now just do it with these workflow actions, and I'll show you a couple of those. This to me is maybe the most exciting part. I hope you enjoy that part of the demo. And then programmable automation. This is the thing I think most people are talking about. You can now, if you know JavaScript, you can write your own workflow actions that do really anything you want. And that is maybe the most powerful feature HubSpot's ever released. It's also a pretty technically advanced feature, and if I'm being honest, it outstrips my technical ability pretty well. So I am going to keep the demo of that part as simple as possible, but I hope it just kind of gives you a taste of what sorts of things are possible. So just to kind of show you how these features work together, because when Ops Hub was first being developed and these were the 3 core features, I thought they were cool, but I didn't see how they worked together and how they really constituted a hub. And once I had that insight, then that's when I caught fire and got so excited about Operations Hub. So if you think about just data sync and data quality automation, you put those together, what this means is if you have HubSpot integrated through data sync with some other system, all the data from that system will flow into HubSpot. And then you can have this data quality automation standardizing the capitalization of names, sorting out date formats or phone numbers or whatever. And then it would flow back into that system. So not only is HubSpot having all that data in it and cleaning it inside of HubSpot, you're going to get clean data consistent in all of your different integrated apps. And so HubSpot, I don't have a non-cringy analogy for this, but HubSpot sort of becomes like a dialysis machine for the data that is the lifeblood of your company, right? It flows from all these other different apps into HubSpot, gets cleaned up, goes out. You have a much healthier ecosystem of data that way. Data quality automation plus Marketing Hub. This is actually what I'm going to demo for you. You can standardize name capitalization before sending an email. You can format date and time by region. So if you communicate to people in Europe and you communicate to people in the United States and you want them to have dates formatted in the way that is regionally specific to them, you can totally do that. Programmable automation plus Sales Hub. You can do weighted lead rotations. Instead of just divvying up all the leads that come in equally to your sales teams, you can give more to one sales team or to another. You can automatically set expiration or renewal dates on deals. That's the example I'm going to show you today. And then programmable automation plus Service Hub. You could get really advanced with the way you route and prioritize tickets. You could get some really complex logic going in there to make sure everything's being prioritized the way you want it to. So just some inspiration there, kind of get your juices flowing about what you might be able to do with this. That is really all I have to say about Operations Hub. I'm just so excited to show it to you. I just want you to see it live. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you how to set up data sync. That is pretty straightforward, but hopefully at least helps you understand what data sync does and how it's different from a normal integration. Then I'll show you how to use data quality automation to standardize the capitalization of names and format date and time. That one's super fun. I just built this workflow today, and I'm so happy it works. And then using programmable automation, I'll show you how to do renewals or expirations with deals. So let me get out of this presentation. You can see my beautiful tabs here. Let's start by setting up a data sync. If our app marketplace is here in this storefront icon, we have a few different marketplaces, but if you click on that and go to app marketplace, you'll be able to see our app marketplace. And we have I think someone asked, comprehensive list of current integrations available. Mike Woodward. Yes. So here at the top, we've added this banner, Data Sync by HubSpot. If you click on that, you will see the currently, I think it's 30. Yep, 30 that we have here. And I'll just scroll through these real quick so you can see them. Google Contacts, Outlook 365, MailChimp, Stripe, Xero, ActiveCampaign, Intercom, Zoho CRM, Sendinblue, Zendesk, Square, Airtable, Microsoft Dynamics. We've never had a Microsoft Dynamics integration before, and now we totally do. Very exciting. Pipedrive, RingCentral, Outreach, AirCall, Constant Contact, NetSuite, iCloud, SalesLoft, Freshdesk, Bullhorn, Keep, Nimble, MindBody, Magneto, Copper, Drip, and Sugar. So a lot of CRM offerings here, some calling offerings. Whoever it is you want to integrate with in this list, you will get a lovely real-time two-way sync. I'm going to go with Square because Square was the one that would let me set up a free account. So I have a Square account I can show you now. But before I install it, we, as part of releasing Data Sync, we redesigned the pages here inside our marketplace. And this is actually super cool now. It's layout-wise, it's sort of subtle. You might not pick up on it. But because you can see this top banner here, I am inside my HubSpot account. This page, therefore, knows what my HubSpot subscription is, and it'll tell me right away if I have a compatible HubSpot plan. If I needed some sort of upgrade for some reason to be able to use this integration, I would be able to get information about that here. We don't want to lead you astray into thinking you can have an integration that you don't actually qualify for. Down at the bottom, we'll give you the pricing of the app that you're signing up for, so you can see exactly how much it's going to cost you, not just from the HubSpot side, but from the other side. We require all of our apps in our marketplace to be transparent about pricing, so you don't have any surprises there. And then here you can see just some of the features, and if different features are compatible or not compatible with your current HubSpot subscription, that'll be shown here. So the thing I would expect maybe you would see if you came to the Square integration, you would see all of these are compatible because Data Sync is part of the free Operations Hub. But custom field mappings, as I said, that's starter. So if you don't have Operations Hub starter, you would have a little like red icon here saying, oh, you would need to upgrade to starter if you want custom field mappings. But the default field mappings you totally get. We're just trying to make this as simple and transparent and as personalized to you as possible. So this integration looks great. I'm going to install it. The first step is to connect your account to HubSpot. And there are, I think, 3 different ways we allow our app partners to verify people's identities. For Square, a new window, which you can see, right? Yep, you can see. And then you just log in with your credentials. So username, password. There are also like some OAuth options, and I forget what the third one is. But anyway, should be pretty clear when you install one of these integrations. Just follow the on-screen steps. And then your account gets connected and you get brought to this page inside your integration settings. So this is just, if you come to your settings gear and come to integrations, there's the connected apps section. This is the same place you would see, I have Google Calendar connected for meetings and that sort of thing. Square is now here. And if I click on Square, I can set up my sync. So this is the part that's going to be unique to data sync integrations. If Square had multiple different objects that could be synchronized to HubSpot, I would be able to select them there. Square only has customers, and so that's just selected for me. And then I come to this page. There are 2 settings of 2 pages of settings here. So at the top, we're going to decide what do we want syncing from Square to HubSpot and from HubSpot to Square. This default here is that we're going to send all of my customers in Square to HubSpot and all of my contacts in HubSpot to Square. But you could limit this if you wanted to, right? Like you could say no contacts, right? And this arrow icon updates. So now we can see, oh, information is going to flow from Square to HubSpot, but we're not going to add all of our HubSpot contacts to Square. We maybe don't need them there. Or if you want to get more granular than that, you could create a list, right, of the specific people. You could create some sort of list that identifies the folks that you want synced to Square, and you could have just them syncing. For simplicity, I'll leave this on all contacts. Similarly, on the Square side, there are a few, sync filters we can use to decide. This will look different depending on what app you're using. Square has these options. Different apps will have different options. But you can control. We only want these specific groups being synced one way or the other. Again, I'm just going to leave it all customers, all contacts to keep it simple. Then you have a few other options down here. I wouldn't worry about these too much. Little things like, do you want to sync people who don't have email addresses? If you do that, you could end up with duplicates because HubSpot deduplicates contacts based on email addresses. But if for some reason you want that, you could uncheck this box. This integration won't automatically delete records when there are conflicts, right? So data sync is constantly syncing. It's on average every 5 minutes it's checking. If it finds a conflict, do you want it to default to HubSpot or default to Square? You can make that decision. I'm biased, but I would assume most times you're going to want HubSpot, right? Particularly in integration with something like Square. But if you were, if HubSpot or if Microsoft Dynamics is your CRM and you're syncing HubSpot as that, and HubSpot's just going to be like your marketing automation, perhaps you would want to default to your CRM. Just business decisions you need to make. So all of this you see, this is standard part of data sync. This is free. You have it. If you're a HubSpot user, you could set this up right now, just like I'm setting it up. The part that's paid is the field mappings. So if you have just the free version, you can view this page, but you can't edit anything. And so this just lets you know, like in Square, it's called first name, and in HubSpot, it's also called first name. But some of these are slightly different, right? Email address versus email. But with Starter, you can turn these on and off if you want to. Like, oh, we don't want first name for some reason, which would be weird, right? But totally an option. Or you can add new mappings, right? Like Square has birthday, and it just happens I have created a custom property called birthday, so we could sync those back and forth too, if my mouse would work here. And you can decide for each of these, do you want them to go one way? Do you want to just push from HubSpot into Square or pull from Square into HubSpot? All of that is up to you. And when you've got that set up the way you want, you can just check that box. And then similar to what it's like to turn on a workflow, you can just hit the review button and it'll give you a summary of everything that's going on here. And when you're ready, you can just save and sync, and it'll think for a couple seconds and then it'll turn it on. And so what'll happen right now is, because I just set this up, data sync is looking at all the customers I have in Square and looking at all the contacts I have in HubSpot and connecting them to each other and getting them in sync. That will probably take a few minutes. But once that's done, like I said, roughly every 5 minutes, day in and day out, data sync is going to be checking and keeping those two in sync. So that's all there is to setting up a sync by data sync. I tried to think of like I even installed the Square app on my phone, and I was thinking like I could show you. I'll add a contact here and it'll appear there, but it's just visually not that interesting. But if you have questions, I'm happy to dive into this more when we get to the AMA. So that's data sync. That's the part you have today, right now, regardless of your HubSpot subscription. So go ahead and check that out. The workflows upgrades, that's in the professional tier of Operations Hub. So I'm guessing most of you don't have access to this today, but it'll still be fun to show. So let's talk about data quality first. So data quality automation lets you clean up data in a variety of ways. So I'm just gonna have this form, and just real quick to show you nothing's up my sleeve. Here is my email. I'm on another screen trying to move all my emails out of my inbox so you can all think I have inbox 0, and so you don't accidentally see anything confidential. But anyway, here's my inbox, right? There is nothing in here. I'm not trying to trick you. So here is a form. Let's imagine we run like a hotel or an Airbnb or something. People can come stay with us at a particular time. I'm going to have a confirmation email that when someone sends out this, fills out this form, I'm going to send them an email telling them what day they selected, right? And so, my name, test at HubSpot.com. So my first name, let's say I'm really bad. I just did all caps, right? People do that sometimes. Where are you? This is sort of an arbitrary question I just added here, but just to show you the difference of date formatting. Let's say I'm staying. I'm coming for my birthday. My birthday is December 23rd. If anyone's interested, there we go. We'll submit that. That's great. So we submitted that one, and then let's do another one. We'll test 2. My name is. How about we'll do all? Actually, we'll do something crazy this time, right? Yep. And then this time we'll say Europe, and this time we're staying on New Year's Day. Right, and so submit. So those are processing. I have this workflow created. So whenever anyone fills out my registration form, what we're going to do is we're going to pull in their first name, and we're going to change all characters to lowercase, and then we're going to capitalize the first letter. So we have these. This is a data quality automation action. There are a lot of options in here, right? You can add numbers or amount of time. You can calculate the nth root of a number. You can, divide a number. You can get an absolute value. So lots of calculations you can do with numbers. You can also do things like removing HTML tags. You can trim leading and trailing white space if you're worried about people adding spaces at the ends and throwing off formatting. But then there's also, capitalize first letter, change all characters to lowercase, change all characters to uppercase. So what I'm doing here is I have one that's changing them all to lowercase, right? And then capitalizing just the first letter. And so this is kind of a 2-step process, right? If you just capitalize the first letter and it's all caps, then it won't really fix the problem. So we're changing it to lower, capitalizing the first letter, and then stamping that back into the first name property. And then we have this branching logic, right? Depending on what they filled out in that form, we're going to format the date time differently. And so this is the one technical part of this. You have to learn this notation here if you want to change the date format of something. Luckily, there's a link here to a knowledge doc that has all the instructions here. And the way I did this was I looked at the knowledge doc and put in the right things. So you can see for the USA, I'm doing, this is the day of the week, comma, the month and the date, comma, and then the year. Whereas for Europe, I am putting a date before a month and not having a comma there. So we take that date property, we format it that way. Then I'm stamping that string now into just a custom property I very cleverly called single line text. And then we have this registration email that pulls that in. So this is running. You can see this workflow is on. Now, if we go into my workflow, so the first one, you can see, I think I did this name all caps. And in fact, we can verify that real quick, right? If we look at this, we can see the first one. It was all caps, and we're in the USA. And so this first email is now capitalized very nicely, just first letter. And this is formatted in the way we here in the United States format things. Thursday, comma, December 23rd, comma, 2021. Great. And the second one, where we did Europe, again, like I did all sorts of weird things to the capitalization there, right? But now it's just first letter and all the rest are lowercase. And then this is formatted in the way Europeans would expect it to be formatted, 1st of July, 2022. So that is pretty sweet. I don't know if you're excited about that, but I am super excited about that. You can see the data came in to my forms looking horrible, but by the time it was sent out in an email, it looked beautiful. So that is what data quality automation does. It's super cool. It's got endless ways of being applied to your data. And what you're seeing here, this is first version, right? It's maybe not super intuitive that you have to do 2 different steps here and then copy it to a property value. We are working on getting that a little more streamlined. You're going to see some fast improvements on this. But as far as an initial offering, it works really well. It was, like I said, I just set this up this afternoon because I got really excited about the idea of showing you sort of what it can do in real time. And it didn't let me down. It worked just exactly the way I wanted it to, which is great. So that's data quality automation. That leaves us with programmable automation, which again is a little bit outside of my technical ken. It's a little bit beyond me, but here is a workflow I was able to create myself. It looks very simple, but it's very complex underneath the hood. What we're doing here is anytime a deal is moved to my close one stage, we're going to run this custom code. And what we're going to do is we're going to stamp, I'm calling it an expiration date. You could call it a renewal date or whatever you want to call it, 1 year from the close date. So let me just, this is what a custom code action looks like. It's got kind of 3 sections to it. The top is secrets, the middle is the code, and the bottom is the output. So I'll tell you about each of these. Secrets, if you are storing something sensitive that you need to use in your code, like an API key or like a password or a credential, or just something you just in general don't want out in the open, you can store it as a secret. And managing secrets is pretty simple. You just have this table you can store secrets in. When you add a secret, this is my secret. You can call it, oh, I already called it that. This is, how about also my secret? And you could just paste in your API key, whatever it is, and then save it. And then when you go back to your code, you can select things from the dropdown. I have Happy Key, my HubSpot API key, selected here. We could, there's the one I just created, but I don't need that in this code. And then to access it, you're just going to use process.env.happykey in this case, because that's what I called that secret. And you can store these, and then they're usable all throughout your account in any of your codes. Your API key for your HubSpot stuff is super useful in some of these code actions. But again, it's a sensitive value that you don't just want out in the open. So this is a good way to store it. That is encrypted and stored securely on HubSpot's own servers. Nobody's going to be able to access it but you. So that is great. Then there's the code. We'll get to that because code is hard. And then data outputs. So every time you have output, have a custom code action, you're going to have at least one output. This is the standard output here, which is just succeeded, failed, skipped, partially succeeded. If you ever want to have additional logic later in your workflow that triggers based on whether this custom code succeeded or failed, you can totally do that. And then you can add additional outputs if you want that can then be used in later steps of your workflow. This workflow, I am using the HubSpot API to do everything I need to do, so I don't actually have any custom outputs here. And so let me try to walk you through this code. I was able to write this code myself. It took a day. A real developer would probably be able to do this in an afternoon while reading a book and taking a nap. But I'm not that technical, so I'll do my best to explain what's going on here, even though I only have a very vague understanding myself. So this first step here, we are pulling in the HubSpot JavaScript library. This is why I'm able to access the API in here. HubSpot is just one of several supported libraries that we have inside our custom code. The Google API is supported. The AWS API is supported if you want to pull anything from Amazon. We also we support a library called Request, where you can do any sort of HTTP request, a push, a pull, a whatever those are called. We have a whole bunch of libraries there that do a whole bunch of things, SQL queries, data modeling. Really, you could build an entire app here in this custom code action, and it would just run. There aren't really any limitations on what you can do, at least as far as I know. This thing's ability to execute far outstrips my ability to imagine things it might be able to execute. So I have not bumped up into any limits that way. But I'm just keeping it simple and only using the HubSpot library here. This is kind of the main heart of what happens in this this action. As far as I know, every custom code action you're going to create will have this exports.main function in it. And it's going to have an event, that's the thing that comes in, and a callback, that's the thing that goes out. And event is always the thing that is fed into the workflow. So this is a deal-based workflow, right? We're pulling in deals. So event in this case is the deal that has just been moved to close one. And then callback is the thing I get to define myself, and that's what the rest of this is. So callback, what we're going to do is we're going to process. Oh, I very cleverly called this process event, right? So this is just taking event, that is the deal that's fed in, and feeding it into this. And we're going to use the HubSpot client and my happy key. You can see I'm pulling that in right here to pull in the deal's object ID. And then we're going to feed that into the HubSpot API to actually look up the deal and pull its date. Yeah. Anyway. And so what we're doing is we're taking we're setting an expiration date that is 1 full year later from the deal's close date. And so we're going to stamp that in a property I've called expiration date. All right, that's the end of the technical boring part of this, which I'm really totally unqualified to teach you. But I wrote that code myself, and look what happens now. So we have this deal I have called hello, and you can see my deal expiration date right here is empty because I haven't closed this deal yet. And I am just going to move it from the price negotiated stage to the closed one stage. And it's going to ask me for the close date. That's just today. Perfect. And we're going to save that. And then if we hop back over here, if we go into our history tab, we can probably watch this happen in pretty close to real time. So that deal was called hello, and we're just going to wait for it to show up here. Oh, I really hope this part works. Let me make sure this is in the, yeah, it's in my sales pipeline. Okay. All right. All right. Come on, history. All right. Well, we're going to, oh, there it goes. There it goes. It executed. So now if we come in here and refresh this page, we should see that it has an expiration date 1 year from today. So May 7th, 2022. And I apologize for my slow internet. It'll come up, I promise. There it is. We now have a deal expiration date that was put automatically. So every deal in my pipeline that gets moved to close one gets this expiration date stamped 1 year later. And that could be a really useful thing. Have additional workflows working off that date that would then send notifications or emails or whatever to remind people to renew their contract or whatever it is you want them to do. So that's my mini tabs of demos. That is what that is the wrong button. That's what I came here to tell you. My next slide just says ask me anything. So I'll go ahead and stop sharing. And I would love to take your questions on Operations Hub or anything related to HubSpot.
That's awesome. All right, so let's go ahead and start this up with questions. We do have one Q&A question in here already. I actually got a couple, both of them from Brandon. By the way, if anybody else has got questions, please be sure to jump in. If you do have a question that you would like to even jump on camera, if you feel comfortable, just drop a note inside the chat, say, I want to be on a camera or something, and we can bring you in that way, and you can actually ask your question live. So in the meantime, let's go ahead and start hitting up some of Brandon's.
Yeah, here we go.
questions.
I'm going to push it. So could one integrate two CRMs using this? For example, a division using Salesforce.com, but another division using something like Copper, and both flow into the hub. I'm going to click this answer live button. Yes. So qualified yes, because our Salesforce Sync is like its own special beast that we built, and I am not super familiar with it. But I mean, totally. If you like Copper and Zoho or like Microsoft Dynamics, these ones that have data sync in them, you could totally connect two of those to HubSpot, and you could set it up so that the data was flowing through all of them. And then you update something in Copper, it syncs into HubSpot, that syncs into Microsoft Dynamics, and vice versa. They would all be kept in sync together. One caveat I should mention: right now, data sync only does contacts. I imagine I don't know the roadmap. I don't know if the roadmap is known yet. But I imagine other objects, deals and companies, those are coming. That seems like something we have to build. But in this first iteration, it's contacts only. So
are you talking about, when you say data sync, are you talking about the free tool piece? Or are you talking about product wide global? It's only contacts.
I don't understand the difference between the two.
Free versus $700 product.
Oh yeah. So yeah. The data sync itself right now is just for contact syncing, but I hope other things will come quickly. Brandon, I don't understand your other question. Are these operations functions available in every type of workflow, or are there now data manipulation specific? Oh no, I do understand. Yes, these are just workflow actions. So if you create a contact workflow, or you create a deal workflow, or one of our fancy new conversation workflows, you will see data quality and programmable automation in there. You can just do it.
Perfect.
So.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mark, that one is answered too.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Woo.
That's fun.
So Mike, if you want to hop on, you can. Could we use the custom code to populate properties from cross objects, i.e. line items to deal properties? Yes. So the thing that's really cool that I do not have the technical aptitude to do is, let's say, like we were just in a deal-based workflow, right? So a deal gets fed in, and the custom code action, you can pull the object ID from that deal, right? And then you can feed that into the HubSpot API, and you can pull all associated contacts or all associated products or all associated line items and do whatever you want with them, right? So I was talking to a guy a little while ago who his team was working on a workflow that would when a lead came in that needed to be rotated to a team, they would look at the team member, right? Look up their user inside HubSpot, see how many deals were already assigned to them, and assign that deal to the person who had the least number of deals. And like, this is just the kind of stuff you can do now if you know how to build it. And so absolutely, if you want to look up line items or deal properties, if you want to stamp them from one place to the other, you can totally do it as long as you can figure out how to write the JavaScript to do it. But there are no technical limitations that would prevent you from doing that on the software side. So I'll mark that as answer 2. Derek, I installed Stripe 0, and both of them are contact sync only, which makes this seem very much B2C. Aha. So yes, this is what I was just saying. So contact only at this point. I wish I had some inside scoop to tell you on when that will be expanded or how it'll be expanded. I don't know that. I agree with you though. In its current state, it does feel very B2C, and so I believe in my heart that this is something we will expand on and fix, and you'll have all the objects working with data sync eventually. But I don't have a timeline for that, and I honestly don't know where that is on the priority map or what the technical hurdles are for getting there. I will say though, HubSpot now, if you go to hubspot.com/new, that used to just be the place where mostly we talked about what we announced at Inbound. We've added a section at the bottom of that page where we have a roadmap for each hub. So, Marketing Hub, Sales Hub, CMS Hub, Service Hub. Operations Hub is not there yet, but we have committed to updating those roadmaps quarterly. So when we get to, I guess, end of June, and those get updated, you will see an Operations Hub roadmap there. And I'm hoping then we will get some clarity on when things like other objects in data sync will be added. but it's also new. I don't I don't have any secrets to share today. I'm sorry for that. Kevin, can you use programmable automation to access an internal API? For example, we have our own app and would like to push-pull data between the app and HubSpot. Yes, absolutely. So there's a JavaScript library, I think it's called Request, and that is supported inside Programmable Automation. So you can use that to do any sort of HTTP request to whatever endpoint you have. So if you are able to access your API through like Postman, you would be able to access it also through a workflow action. And so, yeah, you could basically build your own custom your internal system and have a workflow automatically manage that for you based on whatever HubSpot actions you want. So go for it. I'm excited to hear what you build. Davey, can you sync companies and deals with custom sync? So sounds like everybody was asking this question at the same time. Right now, data sync is just contacts. But again, I hope that will expand shortly. Companies and deals to me really feels like table stakes. We've got to get that in there. But I don't say this from knowledge of things that are actively being developed right now. I don't have insight into that right this minute. What do you see as the main benefits of upgrading to a paid version of Operations Hub, Mo? So yes, so that from free to starter, what you get is those custom mappings inside of DataSync. I am a little I haven't talked to enough customers to know how much value is there. The out of the box integration with Stripe, for instance, or Zoho or whatever, Sendinblue might be sufficient for you, right? And so there might not be a need for you to upgrade there. If you want to get really detailed in the way those are mapped, maybe Starter is a good fit for you. I think the main appeal to upgrading is in the professional tier. You get these workflow actions. So being able to use these data quality automation bits to make sure the data going into your personalization tokens and the emails you're sending to your contacts are clean and pretty and standardized. Like that seems really worthwhile. And then especially if you want to get really complicated with programmable automation, like we were just talking about, if you have internal APIs you want to build an integration with or whatever, I think that's where the real value is. And so Operations Hub, I sort of mentioned this at the beginning and I meant to come back to it, and now I finally am. It feels to me very different from our other hubs, right? It doesn't have its own navigation item. It doesn't really have a place inside the HubSpot tool that we can put up a gate and say Operations Hub users only, right? But because that's not really what it is. It seems to be more just like a technical upgrading of your entire hub, right? If you feel HubSpot's standard offering is too restrictive, you need more flexibility, you need your ability, you need the access to get into the code and get really detailed. And if you have like the developer chops to write things in JavaScript, by all means, you should buy Operations Hub, right? If you don't, like, it may not be a great fit for you, right? Like maybe your company is not in a phase where it'll be much value. But we have heard so often from some of these. We don't really work with true large companies, but like the larger mid-size or any.
Jeez.
I'm getting an echo. Anyway, if there are really advanced technical needs you have, that's what Operations Hub is for. If you don't have those advanced operational needs, we have been designing HubSpot from its beginning to try to make it as easy as possible for people who don't have technical resources, right? So HubSpot should work great for you without operations. It's really just if HubSpot's standard offering feels restrictive to you, Operations Hub takes the shackles off so you can do whatever you want, which is not a need for everybody, but is a very visceral need for certain kinds of users. So,
Kyle.
Yeah.
Davey wanted to come on and he volunteered to come on as a presenter and clarify.
I figure I'm ugly and I make the rest of you guys look really good right now. So I appreciate it. Kyle, nice to meet you, man.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
We watched so much of you and everything. So I wanted to clarify my question a little bit further because I haven't done it yet. I have played with the sync and we did a little webinar last week actually already on Operations Hub, which was great. But one of the things that I had a question on is about the custom sync. So when you go to the $50, right, the starter, whatever it is, if I had a custom object or a custom field, I could sync that, or is it only with contacts I can sync other fields? I just want to kind of clarify that, because that may answer the question of, can we do things with companies and with deals?
Yeah.
I thought that maybe the next sync level allowed you to explore any other in those other systems. Is that, how do you understand that?
Right. So the custom field mappings piece is fields specific. So it's still only going to be contacts or whatever they're called in the system you're syncing to. But you could, if you had custom fields, either in that external system or in HubSpot or in both that you wanted to connect to each other, or if for some reason you wanted to change the way information is sent, you don't, you know, I'm just making things up off the top of my head, but maybe like you want first name, last name to go to some custom field in HubSpot that's like Stripe user first name or last name, or what, and keep that separate. I don't know. Like you could do that, right? But it still wouldn't give you access to companies and deals and any custom objects. You're muted.
There we go. I'll unmute myself. Which is different than the Salesforce Sync that just came out with custom objects, where you can do that, where you can go to a custom object in Salesforce versus custom object that you have in HubSpot. Is that the only one right now that has custom objects?
So the Salesforce of any integration in the HubSpot ecosystem, the Salesforce one is leagues above all the rest, just because we have been working with Salesforce for, I think, as long as we've been a company. And so that's like 14 years of development, right? Whereas Data Sync is kind of this new thing. But I mean, when I look at, I recently saw that new upgrade to the Salesforce Sync and how custom objects work and stuff. And that interface is very similar to the Data Sync interface. And I know our integration teams all kind of work closely together. So I hope we aspire for all of our integrations to have that level of flexibility someday. I don't know how long it will take us to get there. But that is unique to Salesforce, is the short answer to your question. Bye.
See you, Davey.
Sorry, Davey. I kept we were getting an echo, so I kept muting you. I apologize. I think I muted his last question a bit too quickly. Sorry. Go ahead. Next question.
All right, Kelly. We are transitioning to ChargeBee. I didn't see an integration for that yet. Is it still possible for our internal developers to work with Operations Hub and create the bi-directional sync to keep contacts records in sync between HubSpot and ChargeBee? Let me think about this. So I think I should make a distinction here that we not I mean like you saw with Data Sync, we have 30 integrations currently supported, and we hope to have many more than that soon. But that's, I mean, in our ecosystem, we have a lot more than 30 integrations, right? And I don't know for sure if ChargeBee is one we have an integration for. If we do, I would definitely recommend that you start there. I mean, it wouldn't be the bi-directional real-time. Let's see, I've got this pulled up.
Yeah, I was looking too.
Yeah, so we have a ChargeBee integration. If you go to our marketplace, you will see that. Yeah, anyway, I'll drop that. How about into the chat here, or reply. Send. I don't know where that's going to appear.
Now you just made it go away.
I just made his question go away. I'm so sorry. Here, I'll drop it into the general chat. Okay. Oh, I don't know if that link will work for you because that has my portal ID in it. Anyway, we do have a ChargeBee integration. I would recommend ChargeBee. I would recommend that you start there and see if it meets your needs. And then if it doesn't, yes, you could use programmable automation to start to build your own custom integration. I would hesitate to say that you could get a real-time sync, but that could just be my own technical limitations in my brain. Again, like I don't understand how a technical how a real-time sync works. I don't know what powers that engine, and so I would not be able to replicate it just using JavaScript in it. But you could probably create some sort of workflow action that would sync that data when certain things happen, and you could go from there. Yeah. So my
Hey,
short
Kyle, so with that
yeah.
though, I'm curious. So right now there's like 30 that are pre-built and so-called approved, for the system. Is the idea with HubSpot and working with all the other connectors to like eventually get them all to kind of come over to where they have a version of their product in the plug and play side of things?
I think so. So there's kind of two different motions going on right now. We bought PySync, the company, and the PySync website has, I think, hundreds of integrations that they have already built. Now, those were all like, some of them were app A to app B, and HubSpot was neither of those apps, right? But if you look at the ones that were HubSpot and all the different ones, we will hopefully make very rapid progress on getting all of those pulled over to DataSync. There are like legal agreements and things involved in those that we have to renegotiate with those partners. And if for whatever reason they don't want to be a HubSpot partner, it's not like we can force them. So that's kind of one direction. Then the other direction is we have all these integrations in HubSpot's marketplace that were set up before we had PySync, and they are using whatever logic and systems they built themselves. And so we would love for all of the integrations to be DataSync powered, to have this really robust, real-time, two-way operating standard. But it's not just like a simple switch we can turn on somewhere. It requires rebuilding all these things. And so we have kind of those two different pools that we want to pull on. We have to figure out how to prioritize those based on customer usage. And then we have to get buy-in from the developers on those third-party apps to make the change. And so I don't expect it to happen instantaneously, but we are bullish on trying to make DataSync the standard for HubSpot integrations. And so it sort of remains to be seen how smoothly that will go for us. But we are working on it.
Cool.
And then Mo, is there a daily limit for API calls with custom code? Yes.
What?
I think whatever the standard limits on the HubSpot APIs, it's not unique to the programmable automation, and I don't think it's a daily limit. I think it's like a per second or per minute limit. Like you can't hit our APIs 350 million times in a second and expect it will time out at some point. If you really want to know what it is, I can pull that up.
Yes, I want to know now. I'm curious because I want to know what like every 5 minutes is the sync, which is sometimes more than some platforms that you're connecting to as it is. So now I'm just kind of curious, like how many at 5 minutes can you have before it goes boing, boing, boing?
Yeah. Cool. Are there? So I'm pulling this up now.
Look at Derek's question.
Can we mine crypto in a workflow? Probably. I have such a vague understanding of what crypto is anyway. Like, sure. Yeah, you could probably build your own crypto in a workflow at this point, but I don't know how to do it.
Or an NFT.
Yeah.
Whatever that is.
You could turn a workflow into an NFT probably, or maybe like a screenshot of your workflow.
Yes. There we go. Derek, let's get in business, man.
Cool. I'm going to call that question answered also.
While we're waiting on Kyle to find the answer to that question for Mo, if you've got any additional questions, please pop them in Q&A. Or tell us you want to join us online to say howdy.
I've got one, but I don't want to distract him while he's looking up our API limits here.
Okay, this is not exactly what you asked, but it's the first thing I found. Custom code actions must finish running within 20 seconds and can only use up to 128 megabytes of memory. Breaking these limits will result in an error. So I don't that didn't answer your question about the API, but it just goes to show there are limits here.
Okay.
Which might cause a problem if we're mining crypto.
Maybe, yeah.
All right.
Kyle, I'm curious because like I see this, it looks awesome. but it's also a bit terrifying in the sense of like, I'm very much a traditional, like my background is like marketing generalist. I go about as far as CSS with just like a little
Yeah.
smidgen of JavaScript. I'm curious, maybe using, and I know that you're more technical than probably the average, like Hug member that we have here, but what are like the skills that we need to be learning in order to optimize this kind of thing? Like,
Yeah,
should the typical HubSpot user be like learning SQL or JavaScript or JS Node?
I would say no. I would say we are really we are imagining a different sort of user. We have had our marketing generalists and some marketing specialists using HubSpot for a long time. We have salespeople in there. We have our developer, forums and things. This operations hub, we're really imagining like an operations professional, right? Like, in addition to your marketing generalists and your sales team, you have a revenue operations person or a marketing ops person or a sales ops person who is just, their whole job is to optimize systems and processes and help things run more smoothly and help your company scale, right? And if you have someone with that skill set, then they're going to be able to spend the time it takes to dive deep and figure these things out. If you are just, a typical marketer at a typical smaller mid-sized business, you, I would assume, won't have the bandwidth or the technical skills to start custom coding workflows in a way that will actually save you time, right? Like, if it's going to take you 20 hours to write code that's going to save you 30 minutes, just probably not worth it, right? And then, like, that's the boat I would be in. I can even the simple simple automation I showed you today, like, it took me like a day to figure out how to write that and get it working, right? And in reality, like, probably not worth it if if that was a part of my business. And so, like, I don't really, I don't think the right reaction to Operations Hub is, I've been a happy HubSpot user for a long time, but man, I don't want to miss out. So I'm going to go sign up for Code Academy and learn how to JavaScript. Like, Operations Hub is really for the people who have been saying, like, HubSpot is so restrictive. Like, I wish I could get into the guts of it and rewire some stuff, right? Like, the people who have that disposition and the technical skills to do it, we're trying to win them over and convince them that HubSpot is a place that they can thrive, right? But I mean, I think kind of the standard typical what you think of when you think of a HubSpot customer, these small and mid-sized businesses, one or two marketers, a sales team of 10 to 50, they will probably not need Operations Hub. I would not, if they wanted to buy it, I would not say no, right? Some small companies can be extremely sophisticated and technically advanced and want to do these sorts of things. And I mean, if you have, internal APIs you're needing to hit, chances are, if you have the technical resources to build an internal app that has APIs, you probably have the technical resources to build a workflow that can use those APIs, right? But if you don't, I don't see this as being a thing you necessarily need to worry yourself about. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm the type, working at a partner agency with clients that show up and ask for everything under the sun. Like, yeah, I probably don't have much of a choice but to start diving in and figuring it out. But yeah, the typical HubSpot user. But this is the kind of thing, another plug as people are starting to log off. Another plug for next for the event at the end of this month. These are the kind of things that we're going to be talking about when you look at marketing automation or marketing operations or revenue operations as a career. What should you know and what should you come prepared, like what's going to get you that six-figure job? So those are the kind of things that we're going to be talking about. Kyle, if you want to come sign up and join us with Jason Azakar on May 28th, I believe. So just a preview, but yeah, this is the kind of thing I'm chewing on that I now have to figure out. I want to at least get to where, like, I know what to Google to be able to do this stuff. Like, what are these sites to go to Google to be able to fake it like you did with the one that you showed us? That's where I'm at.
Yeah.
And probably a lot of our users.
Yeah, honestly, JavaScript is really well documented online, and there was when I was trying to get hired at HubSpot, and I was so desperate to be hired at HubSpot in any capacity. I taught myself Python and I taught myself Ruby, and I gave myself a little crash course in. So I had some programming background. I understand what a variable is, what a loop is, what these sorts of things are. And so when it came to writing in JavaScript, I knew what questions to ask, right? Like, oh, I need a variable for this, or like, oh, I need a loop for that. How do you do that in JavaScript? If you're at a level where you're like, you don't even know what those basics are, then I would recommend finding crash course online. I checked out a book from the Boston Public Library called Hello World that like taught me how the basics of Python, right? And so there's sort of like that entry level, just understanding how programming languages work, and then once you have that, JavaScript, it is not that different from any other programming language. Mozilla has really deep documentation for JavaScript. I seem to keep hitting their website, but there are plenty of other websites too that seem to have all this stuff. And hopefully, it's funny. When we had these tools in beta, we said we wanted to pull together some examples and just have them available. Here's the custom code and so we were asking our beta users, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you? And everybody was like, oh, we're capitalizing names. Like, oh, well, maybe we should just make that. So that's where data quality came from. We were like, oh, like this isn't really the sort of stuff we want people writing custom code for. This is something we can just provide to you. And so we did. And so now we don't have any examples to share, but we do intend to on the HubSpot community and on the developers forum and on various places, GitHub, have like common use cases for programmable automation, and then you would just be able to copy and paste that code into your portal.
Would you imagine that, like much like you guys have got modules and stuff like that for sale in the asset marketplace? Do you think that people would like write specific code that they maybe sell and drop into the portal?
I don't know. You are not the first person to think of this. I've been asked this before, and I don't know. Regardless of whether that we build that part of our marketplace or not, I would assume we get there eventually. I don't know if that's a this year thing, but like Brandon, if you work with a few of these really technical customers and you or you like work with a developer or something to write custom code and it works, right? Like just copy that into a text file somewhere, right? And next time you're on a call with a customer, be like, we have this proprietary app that runs in HubSpot that does this really cool thing that you can't get anywhere else. And then
you're
going to
get billed 10 hours for it too.
Right. And so there is that. I am not finding the exact thing I'm looking for in regards to limits, and maybe that's because I'm talking while I'm control. Oh, did he?
He shared another API limit, but he says it's part of the legacy docs. So.
Oh, okay.
So what that may or may not have the same numbers associated.
Yeah. I found this 100 requests every 10 seconds limit. And I can't really tell exactly what that's referring to. But this is in the documentation for the HubSpot JavaScript library, which is how you make HubSpot API calls inside of Programmable Automation. And so I assume it's something like that. I should have been a little more cautious answering Mo's question. Mo, I don't know if you're still here. I don't think there is a daily limit, but there are limits. I think we've tried to be generous with them so that you won't hit them. But I mean, if you have a really crazy app that's firing a lot of API calls, you might hit it.
So we're definitely at time. If there is any last questions, do submit them. But I mean, maybe we can end on, I'm kind of curious, like just what's the craziest thing that you've been thinking about or you've heard other people thinking about that this could be used for beyond the capitalization and whatnot? Like what is the future big idea of, like, what could wow us like today? Like going, what do you think about that?
You haven't already done that?
Like I'm waiting. I just want like one beyond, like give extra, like a bonus round.
I'm not impressed.
Yeah. I don't know. Honestly, like there are a few people I've talked with who are like some of the beta users. I would hang out with the beta users of programmable automation and feel like an idiot. Like they would
Well, I
just
feel
be
like an
talking,
idiot already.
and I would have no idea what they were talking about, right? And every now and then I would catch a glimmer of like, whoa, that's really cool. But then like I would try to explain it to someone afterward and be like, nah, I don't even know. And so I mean, like really, this is such a trite lame. This is not going to be the happy note you want to end on, but like seriously, sky's the limit here. Like this is a whole new way of thinking about how you interact with your data in HubSpot, and you can make it do whatever you want to make it do in a way that has not been possible before, without like actually building an external app that calls API calls and things, you know. And so I think I am failing to fully comprehend the possibilities here. And in full transparency, we are hoping to hire a HubSpot Academy professor to own Operations Hub who will not have these limitations. And then I will go back to talking about sales, which is what I'm better at. But I don't know. I think this year will be this is the first time that HubSpot has released a tool that users will be able to do things with that we are unable to predict, right? We ourselves expect to be surprised over and over as people use these tools to build things on HubSpot that we never even began to imagine. And so, I mean, the tools have been out like 2 or 3 weeks, right? And already some things are starting to happen, but I would bet, you know, by the end of this year, you'll see on the internet things of people are doing with HubSpot that is just like completely different from the sorts of things you've been doing with HubSpot in the past.
Yeah, maybe we'll have to have a reconnect here in like 6 months or so and recap the oh wow they did that episode.
Yeah.
Nerd off.
Yeah.
Nerd extravaganza.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, by way of analogy, like I feel like I'm pretty good at Excel, right? Like I can do some formulas, but I had a roommate in college who took like an advanced Excel course, and he built a poker or blackjack game in Excel, right? And like that to me is not a thing I knew you could do in Excel, right? And I feel like that's what's about to happen with HubSpot workflows, right?
So
there are people today.
Let's definitely do the mining.
Yeah. There are people today who can do really cool things with HubSpot workflows, right? But in a few weeks, you're going to see people doing things with HubSpot workflows that are like an entirely different kind of thing. And I don't know what those things will be, but I'm excited for all of us to find out.
Yeah, hopefully they'll announce some really cool what people have done maybe at Inbound in October too.
Yeah,
so
that'd be cool.
That's awesome. All right, Brandon, anything else from you?
Good to go. Thank you so much, Kyle. This has been fantastic. Love it.
Yeah. Thanks to the 10 people who stayed 14 minutes overtime here. I am chatty.
Yeah, you guys are absolutely awesome.
A lot of them are locals. They're hanging out. They're
Nice.
used to just staying after the event and hanging out. I love it.
So I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording right now and say bye to everybody who's gonna watch the recording, and then we can just hang on for a couple minutes if anybody wants to just chat for a second, and then we'll wrap it up. So until next time, see ya.